Welcome to Fox Hill's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Tuesday, September 6th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, we begin the show with a look at a handful of states and their midterm races as the big day gets closer. What states will turn blue, stay blue, or even flip red? We'll break it all down. Meanwhile, Mayor Eric Adams in New York is under fire for defending a cop after he got aggressive with a woman in the city. But how do activists feel about the situation? We have the story. Then, updates on the Jackson, Mississippi water crisis as things begin to go back to normal. Those in the city still have a long road ahead. What residents in the city must do to protect themselves in the aftermath.
Plus, comedian Tiffany Haddish is responding to a shocking report accusing her of child abuse, and Kanye West slams execs at Adidas once again. We have all of that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. We start today with news about the midterm races. With less than 60 days to go to the midterm elections, we wanted to take a look at some of the races that could determine control of the Senate. Now, right now, it's a 50-50 tie with Vice President Kamala Harris breaking ties on close votes for Democrats. The race in Pennsylvania is pitting Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman against TV doctor Hemant Oz, who is trying to keep the seat of retiring Republican Senator Pat Toomey. Fetterman has a strong lead in the polls. He's up 48% to 40% over Oz. Now down in Georgia, Senator Raphael Warnock, he's trying to keep that seat Senate blue. The 538 political site says an average of polls show Warnock slightly up over NFL star Herschel Walker, 47 to 45%. And in Wisconsin, Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, he's trying to flip the seats from red to blue. That's according to Real Clear Politics. They say Barnes has a lead over incumbent Senator Ron Johnson with a 50 to 45% lead. Those are all really, really big races. Other states to watch also include Ohio, Arizona, Nevada, and New Hampshire. And then I was reading an article this morning in the LA Times, and it was talking about how since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the number of women signing up has surged in a lot of these battleground states, including some of the ones I just mentioned, like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And so several of these GOP candidates thought they had it in the bag, and so things are really, really switching. But there's still 9 weeks left to go, so we don't want to call it too soon, but I do think that we're riding into a good wave.
Mm-hmm. Analysts initially, like you said in the story, initially thought that this was going to be a knockdown blowout for Republicans. And so I don't think that many Republicans saw this even coming, that it would get to 50-50 or even in our favor as Democrats right now. And so, like you said, too, a couple of other factors are that there was a low approval rating for President Joe Biden, right? So initially, if I'm a Republican, what are you going to think? Oh, we have this in the bag. People don't want to see Joe Biden as president anymore. But because you can tell the Democrats are trying to do things that help the American people, like we're trying to, stay on top of abortion, stay on top of inflation, student loans. We have things that you can see the Democrats are trying to do for the betterment of American people, that it seems as if the Republicans are really just trying to stay in power, but they're not really trying to get things off the list. So when you look at who's really trying to be better for me, Republicans don't look like they're doing anything to better me.
No, it's not a good look right now. And what you said, Mimi, how a lot of women are signing up right now due to what happened with Roe v. Wade, and that is so important. But at the end of the day, it's up to people of color to get out and vote. Sometimes we fall back, we lag on these midterms because we try to wait for the 2024 when it's time to re-elect the president, things of that nature. This is just as important. So now that we see these numbers, we see what's going on, we have to continue to step our game up, tell our neighbors, our relatives, our friends, make sure we get out for the midterms and vote.
It's that simple. All right, so the Department of Justice says it is considering its next steps after a federal judge ruled they will allow an independent third party to review documents removed from Mar-a-Lago. A retired judge, attorney, or even a national security expert who is not connected to the case will likely be appointed to this position. They'll examine the records seized from Trump's home. The special master, it is appointed to expect a slowdown from the DOJ's investigation. Trump's legal team and the federal prosecutors have until Friday to come up with a list of possible special master candidates. It's still unclear if the Justice Department plans to appeal. My concern still is this special master. Where do they come from? Are they unbiased? Because it's always interesting to me that Trump wants to have somebody look through all of the documents that were seized at Mar-a-Lago because you took them. So why don't you know what is there? It seems like he's very protective of that. But why do you need someone to look through this if we already know? If you took it, you know what's in there then, right?
Yeah. So, the special master is supposed to be unbiased, right? It's supposed to be, what did you say, a retired judge or someone who used to be in government, not someone active now. So they both will get to submit a list of candidates. So the DOJ will, and so will Trump's people, and the judge will decide who ultimately gets the job. So once that happens, which should happen by Friday, we'll know what happens. So Trump's team is saying they don't trust the DOJ. They don't want them going through those documents. They don't want them looking at them because they don't know if they're planting stuff or removing stuff or putting not being fair, basically, is what Trump is saying. And so he won this case. This is a blow to the investigation. This is a win for Trump. This is a blow to the investigation. And so it's going to slow it down because the DOJ can no longer, as of right now, as of when this ruling came down, they can no longer look at any of the information anymore. They have to wait until there's another court order that says that they can continue, or the completion of the special master person, whoever is appointed, until they finish their job. So it's going to be a situation.
And what stands out to me out of this whole story is he doesn't trust the DOJ. Who is trusting Trump right now? Think about that, right? How would he even have a say in this situation, knowing that he had these things at his home, his property, where people that stayed in the hotel, people that worked in the hotel had access to this information as well, which could be very, very, very harmful to our country and the rest of the world. So the nerve of him to say what he doesn't trust, the nerve that he actually gets a chance to get a win so far out of this situation is not good at all. I'm kind of taken back by that.
Yeah, honestly, the fact that, Romeo, adding on to that we're even looking through documents that you stole from the White House. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to keep in mind that these were not your documents that you were supposed to take. They were not in a designated place for you to put them in your home. They were not supposed to be there. So the fact that Trump has anything to say at all is beyond me, because these were documents that were not yours to take.
Yeah. All right, well, Vote.org is investing $10 million into a Get Out the Vote campaign directed at young voters. The Vote Ready campaign is intended to reach more than 4 million voters between 18 and 30. The campaign will focus on Black, Latino, and Asian voters. Vote.org says they hope to get 1 million young voters registered by November. So far, they have almost 400,000 people signed up.
And President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan could lift crushing debt burdens from millions of Americans. But the tax man may be coming for some people who have had their student loans forgiven. States like Mississippi, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and a bunch of others, they're considering the forgiveness as income unless those states conform with the federal tax exemptions for student loans. President Biden's plan would forgive up to $20,000 off of a borrower's bill, and more than 40 million Americans could see their student loan cut or eliminated under Biden's plan. Now, several states like New York, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and others say they will not tax borrowers who get their debt released.
Alaska will finally have a Native person representing the state in Congress. Mary Peltola beat out former governor and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin last week in a special election to fill the state's only House seat that is currently vacant. Peltola will serve the remainder of the state representative Don Young's term. Senator Lisa Murkowski praised the fact that the state elected its first Native Alaskan to national office. She's also, going to maintain her seat past the end of the year. Peltola will have to win again in November in regular election. Now, she is the first Democrat to ever represent the state in Congress.
The Justice Department is prosecuting a white supremacist former soldier who says he joined the Army so he could learn how to kill Black people. Federal prosecutors say 21-year-old Killian Ryan engaged in violent and racist communications online. Ryan was kicked out of the Army by the elite 82nd Airborne Unit after it was discovered he lied on his application for security clearance. The DOJ is prosecuting him for lying on the application. Prosecutors say an Instagram post by Ryan said, quote, "I serve for combat experience, so I'm more proficient in killing N-words."
And the VA is planning to provide abortion services to former female service members, even in some states where the procedure has been banned. The Department of Veteran Affairs has submitted an interim final rule, which is a draft of the policy it plans to put in place for abortion services. The VA plan would provide abortions for vets who are impregnated due to rape or incest. The policy would also include the procedure for women whose lives are at risk during pregnancy. Thank you so much.
Pennsylvania's Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is demanding Dr. Oz apologize for comments that he made about two black men who were granted clemency for second-degree murder. Last week, the Oz campaign released a press statement referring to Les and Dennis Horton as convicted murderers. The men currently work for Fetterman's campaign. Now, back in 1993, the Hortons were accused of providing a ride to a friend who killed a man at a Philadelphia bar. They insisted that they were innocent and refused plea bargains that would have released them from prison in 5 to 10 years. Instead, they were sentenced to life. Fetterman was part of a parole commission that granted the men clemency. Now, Fetterman says that Oz is going after two campaign workers. It's going very slow.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is coming to the defense of an NYPD cop caught on video hitting a woman who interfered and hit him during an arrest. Detective Kendall Kinsey is under investigation for hitting 19-year-old Tamani Crump. She was approaching her boyfriend, Elvin James, as he was being handcuffed and surrounded by police officers. James was being arrested for attempted murder. The officer warns and pushed Crump away as he tried to intervene with the arrest. After she slaps his hand away, Crump strikes the young woman. Mayor Adams says the officer showed great restraint during the incident, but activists in the city are demanding the cop be disciplined. I feel like he definitely should be disciplined in this situation. As a police officer, you have to restrain yourself all from start to the end. Like, you have to make sure you control the situation. Then again, there was other officers that could have stepped in and maybe to his defense and helped out. The way this went down was totally out of pocket, totally foul for me. And when I think about New York, I talk to family and friends that live there. Like, the crime rate, the shooting rate is just so high. A lot is going on within that city, and this just adds to the fire, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very, very, very crazy. That video, a lot of people have been talking about it online. But Romeo, back to what you were saying about cops needing to show restraint. You know, and I understand Mayor Eric Adams, he's pretty much saying as a cop, he showed restraint. But what restraint did you have? You did not show any restraint. Actually, you did the complete opposite. You literally pushed this woman down, you know, and I just feel really bad for the girlfriend. She's really just there trying to support her boyfriend and help out with whatever's going on. It doesn't even matter, but I just hope that she's okay, because no woman should have to deal with that, because that was not restraint at all. That was literally pushing a woman to the ground, forcefully pushing her to the ground at that.
Yeah, that video is hard to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, no one helped her up. I mean, there's a lot happening there. I agree with you. No restraint. All right, water pressure is back to normal in Jackson, Mississippi today, but health officials say residents are still being advised to boil the water before they use it. For more than a month, residents have been told to boil water after the system failed during a recent flood. Many residents have been relying on bottled water given out by National Guard troops. They have been told to shower with their mouths closed because of bacteria that is still in the water. Now, Governor Tate Reeves says residents can trust that the water pressure has been returned to the city.
Attorneys for a black Georgia man are not happy with the jury's verdict that convicted Mark Wilson of involuntary manslaughter in the death of a white teen back in 2020. Wilson, who says he was standing his ground at the time of the shooting, will be sentenced later this month. The jury found Wilson not guilty of murder in the killing of Haley Hutchinson in Statesboro, Georgia. Prosecutors say Wilson fired several shots from his gun while driving with his then white girlfriend. Wilson says that they had been accosted by a group of white teens. Wilson, who is biracial, says they called him racial slurs and attempted to run his car off the road with their vehicle. Wilson says he fired in self-defense. One bullet hit Hutchinson, killing her. This is another very, very sad story. You know, it's hard to pick a side because, you know, a lot was going on in this particular situation. I hate that we're in the year that we're in 2020 and biracial is even a thing, that you can't love a person that is black or love a person that is white, and it is a thing. Like, I don't even understand why that's even to this day. It blows my mind, but hopefully the situation turns out for the best.
Yeah, this story, I remember when it happened. So at the time he was 17 years old. He was in a I don't know, a car with his white girlfriend, and there was a pickup truck that was chasing him. They were yelling the N-word. They were throwing beers at his car. They were just doing a bunch of things. So he had a gun. He fired the gun. He did not mean to hit anyone, but he argued stand your ground. I think we often talk about how stand your ground never works for us when we use that that defense. But this, if I had to pick a side, because I heard you did me about picking a side, I mean, listen, this guy was 17 years old. He was still either in high school or a senior. He was going somewhere, and this pickup truck full of white people started harassing him and his girlfriend, saying your life don't matter and a bunch of other things. And so he defended himself, and he was put in jail. He was in jail for over 600 days so far. They would not give him bail. He finally got bail after 2 years of being in jail. Right now, he's facing 10 years in prison. And it's sad that someone lost their life, but I also think that he was defending himself. They chased him down and followed him. Yeah. It could have been avoided if, one, they weren't racist, and two, they weren't following him.
Yeah, I mean, you're 17 years old. You just want to get home, right? So you're going to do what it takes to get home. And again, it was in self-defense because he feared for his life. So that's very unfortunate. A black disabled New York man is suing the Suffolk County Police Department for $50 million after he says cops tore off his prosthetic leg during a brutal arrest last year. Waverly Lucas says police used excessive force and violated his civil rights during an arrest that left him with a broken eye socket and emotional trauma. Lucas says he was walking towards a gas station convenience store when two white cops stopped him from entering and asked for ID. When he asked why, Lucas says cops claim he had urinated in public. He says when cops had trouble getting him in the cruiser, they ripped off his prosthetic leg. The Suffolk County Police Department has not commented on the lawsuit.